Hello everyone, this is Sky, and I wanted to come on tonight to speak a little bit about the equinox we will be having on March 20th and some of the energetic outlays and spectrums being generated here and now to really help us understand and encompass what's going on and what's coming up. Because as most of you have probably noticed who are listening to this video, this period of time for everyone is a little bit crazy and a little bit difficult and saturated. We are firmly planted in Pisces time as I'm filming this video, and you may be watching it at a later time, and I still think that it's very relevant though, the information coming forward, because this specific equinox that we're having in spring of 2018 is hitting home more than most do. And there are a few reasons behind that. We have Jupiter in Scorpio, we have Uranus in Aries, we have Neptune in Pisces, and Chiron, who will be moving into Aries very soon as well from Pisces. So we have the outer planets activating both points of equinox, because equinox is the time which the sun moves into 0 degrees Aries. It is the time where the astrological new year turns over. The zodiac switches back up and starts from the beginning. And I feel that spring equinox is the most esoteric and energetically powerful time of the year, because we go from Pisces, which is the last sign of the zodiac. It is the experience of death and letting go and falling into the void, and then we move back into Aries, which is the rebirth and the very beginning. So it sort of is the universal validation that our lives, despite many endings and many beginnings, always sort of run on a cycle, and sort of also validates that there is no such thing as an absolute ending. Equinox every year proves this in and of itself. And as we are very universal star beings, this happens to us also during this time of the year. So things have to end, things have to be purged out, things have to be let go of, and be prepared to start over in new ways. It's much more intense this year, though. We have Jupiter in Scorpio, which is also another sign representative of death and endings, in Jupiter energy, which expands everything, intensifies, and empowers everything. So to mix this Pisces stellium that we've been going through with Neptune and Chiron nearby, and to also throw in Jupiter and Scorpio, expanding the ending energy, and also like a water trine when the moon is in Cancer this month, really generates such an extreme power and ending energy that it can be difficult for many people to cope from. Coping is so emphasized with this type of planetary movement and activity, because usually the whole principle of coping is the response to an ending, or the response to an action that elicits a psychological ending of some kind. So equinox is very evocative of the whole concept of coping, and past that, even the concept of being able to simply remove yourself from a situation of the past. Allowing yourself healthy cell turnover, allowing yourself to sort of do what your cells do at all minutes, all hours of the day, and just turn over, just generate a new spectrum of life. This is a very supported time to make a move or to change something about yourself if that is something that's been building for a while. It's best to do that right around the time of the actual equinox, even a bit after, once we get into Aries. The entire time of Aries from like March 20th to towards the end of April is a really great time to be the pioneer and to be pushing into new territory, to be doing things you've never done before. We will be having a Mercury retrograde through that time though as well, so it can be a little bit chaotic, but I feel that many people are very supported to be making very big changes and to be pioneering. And leading up to that though, as we're in these final 2.5 weeks of Pisces time, it's important to look back, to see over your shoulder, preferably without turning to salt, and to no longer need what's there while at the same time being aware of it. Because I just feel this really strong energetic push that the awareness has to go soon, but it is needed right now. So the awareness of your past, the awareness of how you are as a person. It would be a great time to journal where you've been. It would be a great time to write down what you're afraid of forgetting, and to be able to close that around equinox time and start over, because I feel that about 85% of the global population right now are working with an emotional spectrum that concentrates way too heavily on the past and way too heavily on not being able to let go of things or not being able to accept that change is possible. And I feel that this collective theme and concept is creating this heaviness present in the entire world where we're too heavy, we're weighing ourselves down entirely too much, and it's making situations very much more difficult to overcome and to transmute. So, for example, to sort of get a more tangible hypothetical explanation of this, I feel that many people are so weighed down by a false idea of inability to change that very large debts are taken on or very unhealthy habits or cycles are taken on so that you become connected to a place in a sense that you cannot change because of your commitment, your debts, your habits. So much anchor energy to me, it feels like. And this also has to do with the very impeccable lunar activity we've had over the last few months. We had the super blue blood moon on January 31st. Click in the top right hand corner of this video to see that video, and it's also in the description box as well. That really generated a lot of, what do I want to say? Dangerous and want to say hyper catharsis oriented mind frames among many people, especially people of your past. So you can see people reaching back out to you or responding to you with these very intense, extreme, mean, vile type of messages, or you can see that people just are dying to watch other people have some kind of difficult experience, or lots of videos going viral of bad things happening to other people and people not watching that because they feel bad, but watching it because they're like thriving off of seeing others in pain or feeling above other people. I feel that that was very much initiated by Super Blue Blood Moon, although it was a cycle actually coming from about the last 75 years, but very much reinitiated during January 31st, so we're coming very close off of that energy. We also had Black Moon in February. So we're working with endings in almost an exponential way that we have not in a long time. Endings and societal themes which are structured to rely too heavily on catharsis and lots of violence in general, whether it be violent words or physical violence, is very possible here, especially in Pisces time. I feel that once we get into Aries, there could be more like collective violence, but it's very important that we individually can see how to no longer be violent with ourselves or violent to others based off of our own constructions or based off of our own structures. Basically, it's really important after we get out of Pisces time, when this equinox happens, to find something within ourselves that doesn't rely so much on seeing other people in pain or other people having some kind of very bloody experience of life. And I feel that that's the main way to solve it collectively is by individual shifts, obviously, because the microcosmic first and foremost, then the macrocosmic, in my opinion. It's kind of like chicken or the egg type of thing, but I believe that it all starts with the micro. Really try to take the period of time before the equinox to exhale if you can. Try to not get too upset about things which are out of your control. Try to not feel like you need to lash out at people or prove a point or get too egoic in your means as a person, because you can really heal a lot within yourself, during Pisces time, during this really oceanic type of void energy, by not trying desperately to structure things which have no definition to begin with. Which brings me into another really important theme of this period of time, which is dreams, things which are unstructured, things which have not yet been defined in your life. It's a beautiful time before equinox to allow yourself to dream about something or to start writing it out, to start making a plan. Like, how can I accomplish my dreams? How can I care less about these people who have all these terrible things to say about me? And rather use that energy to start constructing the best business plan. In fact, really allow yourself the time before the equinox, if you can, if you're listening to this on time, even after the equinox, it's okay, kind of play catch up with yourself to start these like 5-year business plans, to start these 5-year goals or 1-year goals or long-term goals in general without being too logistically concerned. Like, try to not be like, well, I can't afford to do that. There's no way that's going to happen. I'm not even going to pretend that it's a possibility. Really sit with what your heart wants and dissolve those boundaries that relate to logistics or relate to details, because even if you don't feel that it's logistically possible, just coming to an understanding of what it is that you want, if boundaries were not considered, or if we were just able to achieve whatever we want whenever we wanted, is a very important dialogue to have with yourself. And by realizing it, here's the funny thing, you take away a lot of your ego crisis. So the ego tends to get very upset when we're not doing what it is that the ego has deemed that we need to do. This is what causes people to lash out. This is what causes people to be very mean and vulgar and even vile during this time, is they have basically become victims of their own egos. And what you can do yourself to not be that person, or to cope from that person doing that to you, is to understand your dreams and to start to fulfill them, and to not necessarily be discouraged by the logistics of them. And then to tie it all in, after Equinox, once we get into the pioneering Aries time, come back to these plans, come back to these dreams, and then go through it with that logistical fine-tooth comb and understand, how can I finance this? How can I accomplish this? What are the realities? Because that's where you'll have the energy to actually pioneer into it. So for those of you who want to start businesses, for those of you who want to start writing the record, or writing the book, or doing the purpose-driven project, dream it up before the equinox, then get logistical after the equinox. Then you can create this incredible cycle where by about Virgo time, so by about August and September, you are in the productive mode of actually accomplishing it. And I feel that to be the saving grace of this energy for this particular equinox cycle, is that dreams and manifestation can actually very easily align with the incredible water and fire energy coming in. However, I do feel that people of the past, or people who still have control over us, that's the key word, can threaten this. So it's really important that you don't feel completely controlled or bogged down by somebody, even if you're in that cycle, even if you're in the codependent relationship still, you're trying to get out. There's a difference between that and it actually being a control cycle that is untamable. So if you've realized, okay, this relationship is codependent, or okay, this person is sick, okay, this person cannot be for me what I need, and I cannot be for them what they need, that's all that matters. You've done it, great job. It will reverse itself soon enough, although you will have to, after the equinox, be able to meet the universe halfway. You'll have to be able to kind of, this relationship isn't working out, I've got to start packing my things. This relationship isn't working out, or this marriage isn't working out, I've got to speak to a lawyer. You do have to kind of actually do something after a while. As I said in like my Scorpio March reading, there can be a lot of things during this time that you need to get yourself out of, but right now you can't necessarily rely on the universe to call you an Uber, really step into that place of having your power and having your energy being only maintained by you, and being in the driver's seat of your own experience. And staying in that driver's seat, especially till after we get out of Pisces time, because people, I don't know what it is, this specific cycle of Pisces time in this year of 2018, with Neptune and the Pisces stellium, Moon in Cancer, Jupiter in Scorpio, that water trine, people can be very delusional with this energy. Again, Pisces, Scorpio, and even Cancer, all of the water signs represent mental illness, represent lunacy, disassociation, chemical imbalance, or sort of a snapping, like nervous breakdown. And this water trine coming in right now is really putting a lot of people into an unhealthy frame of mind. And the interesting thing about it is most people aren't that person, is the weird thing. But most people are experiencing this type of person around them. It's kind of like this Mandela effect type of thing. I don't really like that term, but to kind of communicate what I'm talking about, and this is sort of the collective craziness of the whole situation. Nobody is really the crazy person, but everybody has a crazy person around them. And this does have to do with the new realities shifting into place. It's a portal time for most people. A lot of us are kind of standing at the portal and deciding, okay, am I going to enter into this new version of reality? Am I going to move into this next chapter of my life? Or am I going to stay here and continue in this chapter? There really is no right or wrong answer there. Although we're a very progressive people and we like to always be moving forward and always making progress, it's not bad to stay in the same reality. But I do feel that 95% of people are at that portal. So it can just be a very stressful time where the energy that it evokes is obviously Eight of Cups for those of you who are tarot people. But when you're there, for example, if you've like left a major relationship and somebody doesn't want you to leave, or if you've chosen to do something that goes against the grain of other people, when you actually go to do it, it can be this very dramatic scenario, right? Like suddenly people are crying and suddenly people are all over the place. And this is what it feels like to me. It feels like a lot of people are about to step into that new portal, and there are a lot of people by default coming out of the woodwork being like, no, you can't go, you can't change, you can't be the bigger person, you can't no, I'm going to drag you down to my level and you're going to stay here. There's a very strong control dynamic there that, get this, the new portal that a lot of you are entering into does not contain in the same way. And that's what's hard. I feel like that's how a lot of us decide whether or not we're going into the next portal. Are we prepared to take on a reality where we are not controlled and shackled down by other people? At first, you're sort of like, well, of course, why wouldn't I? But in codependent structures and cycles in relationships, it becomes almost necessary for both people, like the person being controlled and the person controlling, and they sort of come out on the other side. Like in, for example, if somebody's very controlled, they actually gain a type of control over the controller. You know, there's these very symbiotic experiences, and we have to be able to come out of that and no longer need to be controlled anymore, and no longer be the victim. That's a big thing for a lot of people because Pisces is sort of a martyr and victim sign, and Capricorn can be as well. We've got Saturn in Capricorn and Mars moving into Capricorn right around the same time. So there's going to be a lot to do with how we're working to get out of victimhood, how we're working to establish independence, and what sacrifices we're making for the good of other people, not ourselves, with the Pisces and Capricorn energy. And once we move into Aries time, I sense that a lot of people are going to do really beautifully with this energy. Many incredible plans. I sense collectively new experiences, new sensory stimulation through this new portal. Many people, choosing to no longer need the codependent cycles, and also quite a big handful of people choosing to continue them as well. But I do feel like that the people who get into this new portal and jump into Aries time with new prospects, new ideas about business, new ideas about purpose, are the most gifted and lucky right now. But you can also, again, people can desperately try to pull you down from this as well. People can be surprised at your gumption, or surprised at, like I said, you actually being able to be the bigger person, to which I say, who doesn't love surprises? Gumption is only bad when you feel very threatened by someone. So do remember that when people try to lash out at you, they're feeling very threatened by you. Aries is kind of a threatening time, especially when you come from such an intense 2017 cycle, because that's what we're letting go of at this time. In the beginning of March is the cycle of like March 21st, 2017 to now. So whatever happened to you during like summer 2017 or fall or winter has to sort of culminate into this like a ball of light and, be able to be refracted out into the rest of the world. Let somebody else take on that negative energy. It's been a big social media theme. 2017 was like the hardest year of many people's lives. And if you're one of those lucky people who succeeded and did well through 2017, take a second to enjoy yourself throughout all of 2018 and probably the rest of your life now. It could be, but really, if you are there and you got through 2017 okay and without some sort of very terrible death drive experience, you've done very well and will be very rewarded. And also, if you can have the courage to go into the new portal energy that is coming up here without being subject to needing codependency from other people, I feel that you are also winning as well. Another theme that I really felt like I needed to mention, I actually wrote this down, that I feel to be another big concept for many people, is really try, during Pisces time especially, to not delude yourself to reality in order to find self-exoneration of any part you had in trying to destroy somebody else or trying to really give somebody else a bad situation. I've seen a lot of people completely changing their narrative, almost like pathologically changing reality in their head to suit their bad actions. So, for example, maybe somebody abandons you, like you're in a relationship and you become abandoned by this person. It's very easy to see that the person who abandoned you take on a pathological mind frame and find and generate reasons that you did to catalyze them to do that makes it not their fault. Be very careful with blame, ego, fault finding, needing a narrative that makes you the hero and not the antagonist, or that makes you the antagonist and not the hero. It's not at all a good time, in the most loving way possible, everyone, to need any of that. Because here's the thing, Equinox time, what happens here, becomes cycles. So you spend a lot of money or get into a lot of debt here, that becomes a cycle. You take on really difficult habits, that becomes a cycle. You label yourself as the hero of your life falsely, that becomes a cycle, and people start to see you as a pathological, delusional person. You take on the role of the antagonist here, simply enough, people start to always see you as the antagonist. It's good to not be that connected to anything. Really just allow yourself to kind of float in void. Really just kind of allow yourself to not be so activated by your ego. Ego is a good thing. I'm not one of those people who's like, ego is the root of all evil, disconnect from it. Although at the end of Pisces time, moving into Equinox and Aries time, if there were ever a time to disconnect from ego, it is here and now. Try to just laugh, try to enjoy yourself, try to not need to label things, and especially generate things which are not true, but are kind of foggy, and maybe other people would believe you if you explained it in a certain way. That is like the absolute most dangerous thing to take on right here and now. Ultimately, allowing yourself time for creative space, creative work, channeling of solar plexus energy, I think is the most healthy way to come through this time. Finding relief in your own cycles as a person, seeing them, not making them something that is not overcomable, at the same time, not making them something which is that scary, gives you a lot. And it's a very beautiful energy to see that change is possible, and to see that you're never really stuck in anything unless that's what you want and need, and to ultimately validate within yourself that who you are as a person is not labeled or valued or generated by somebody else. If you can create a strong identity soon, especially by the time we get into Taurus time, that would be a great time to have that sort of out of the way with. You'll basically be invulnerable to the delusions of other people, and be able to sort of come out of these difficult cycles, because it's a very new time that we're stepping into. Again, new portal. I feel like centuries of time have passed in this one, and we are really coming into a new phase that can be really good if we can just find our identity and find our lack of that as well in a funny way. It's quite hard to explain. Anyway, everyone, if you would like to subscribe to my channel, you can click the center of your screen right now. Your likes and comments mean the world to me, and be sure to share this video with someone who might be interested or gain insight from this Equinox video. Anyway, much love, and we'll be speaking soon. Bye.